Good morning and greetings from sunny Alberta. I've got good news and bad news. This channel that I've used for years to try to speak to my fellow Canadians, it's suppressed, shadow banned, whatever term you'd like to use. I hit all the topics and words that social media doesn't like, especially YouTube. It's unfortunate because YouTube is one of the larger sites, and it has 15 18 years of video content, and it's obviously the largest site that everyone uses. So the bad news I have is basically that the content on this channel is going to slowly dwindle and come to an end. The good news is I've been asked to be on a podcast, an actual proper show, and it's going to be interesting. We're already working on material and editing, and I think it's pretty cool. I'm pretty excited. So maybe I'll do an update video in the future just to let you folks know the name of the show and where to find it. But we're going to remove ourselves from YouTube as much as possible and hit other sites, Rumble, Locals, everything else to get our messaging out and get discussions going with Canadians. I've had content and comments removed from YouTube for years. And to be honest, I probably use some spicy language sometimes, but I'm one of the millions of Canadians who are pretty upset about the state of our country. And I don't think, one politician is going to, stop the ship from sinking. I hope someone like Pierre is going to mostly do the right things. He certainly is saying the right things, but I guess time will tell and if he backs up what he says. So anyway, the reason for this is I recently had a comment removed and I got a message from YouTube. It says, "Comment removed. We've discovered that comments you've left may violate community guidelines, harassment, and cyberbullying policies. If you keep leaving comments like this, you may lose your ability to comment or even have your channel terminated." So I had a similar message from Twitter years back, which is the reason I left that site. I think I had roughly 22,000 followers, prominent people, politicians, media people, celebrities. Not that I'm special or anything, I guess. Sometimes I say the things that other people want to, or they don't want to say, but they at least agree, like the silent majority that we often talk about. So they asked, do I have any feedback? And this is the message I sent to YouTube. So this video is really just me speaking to YouTube. Yes, I have feedback. I don't know which comment was a problem. I clicked on the screenshot option here, and it's not even a picture of my comment. But in fairness, I assume it was one of my comments directed towards a Canadian news network. Probably. I understand YouTube is a free service, and it's your playing field, your game. So fair enough. Freedom of expression and or speech doesn't apply to you. I assume you send similar messages to many Canadians, because millions of us are upset. You folks can obviously do whatever you like. It's your platform. And if I get canceled, I might as well tell you why Canadians are so upset. I don't expect you to care, but I will say this anyway. The Canadian media was mostly bought or influenced by the federal media bailout that they have received via subsidies and other financial means from the Canadian government. And it is the majority of the media. All the major companies received this. Hundreds of millions of taxpayer dollars given without our permission. The CBC in particular receives over $1 billion per year. For most of the last decade, the media, who normally holds the government accountable for the people, has now changed their stance and are holding the people accountable for the government. Like the COVID pandemic, for example. Surely you reading or watching this understand how incredible amounts of money given to media organizations slowly dying from lack of viewership will affect the positive or negative coverage of the people handing out that money. Now add the worst liberal federal government in our lifetimes, the creators of the above mentioned media bailouts. And I say bailouts because there's been multiple times they've received funding. It wasn't just one time. I could go on for hours about the corruption, dishonesty, and scandals regarding this government, but why bother? In a nutshell, the Canadian government doubled our federal debt in 9 years. It took over 150 years to generate our initial debt of roughly $619 billion, up to the year 2015. Then Justin Trudeau was elected. During the pandemic, the Canadian government spent roughly $600 billion plus dollars, most of which is unaccounted for, or they at least haven't told us how they spent it. Now the Canadian federal debt is nearly $1.3 trillion. All of this, plus more, like carbon taxes, homes no one can afford, the capital gains tax, investment leaving, and inflation due to the creating of the aforementioned $600 billion, have harmed the Canadian economy, and thusly families directly. Food banks in Canada estimate, due to public usage, that 25% of Canadians are in or nearing poverty. 25%. Everything has gotten worse. And with so much debt and only so many tax dollars, it is inevitable that Canadians will have a future lower standard of living and health care because so many more tax dollars will go to servicing the debt instead of social programs. So Canadians are pissed off. Millions of Canadians are pissed off. In addition, millions had their rights and freedoms taken due to pandemic lockdowns, restrictions, organized public hatred, and segregation. Families lost their homes and jobs. Thousands of small businesses never opened again. People couldn't be with dying loved ones. Everything terrible increased. Mental illness, drug and alcohol addiction, divorce, bankruptcy. I could go on. All based upon science that was mostly completely made up. The Canadian government forced drugs into Canadians, including children, under multiple threats, like the unemployment or segregation I just mentioned. And the Canadian media helped them accomplish that, lying to Canadians while surviving on Canadian tax dollars for their existence. They literally had running death scoreboards during the pandemic, live on the news, constantly updating you about how many people died every day, creating incredible fear, all on purpose. In fact, YouTube, via your censorship of doctors, nurses, and all differing opinions during the pandemic, also aided in the harm caused to not only Canadians, but I assume Americans and people all over Earth. And you probably did it for money, like everyone else did. I obviously do not wish harm on anyone, but I do hope that one day there will truly be accountability and justice for the damage done to my country, Canada, caused by the federal Liberal government, provincial governments, the majority of the media that have been purchased, and the social media platforms like yours that censored truthful information. I will never forgive. I will never forget. Generations of my family have fought across oceans for Canada, but not for it to be broken as it is now. Generational damage and financial hardship is what these people have created. And like millions of Canadians, I'm pissed off for many, many reasons. And we have no way to fight back in between elections against these people without social media platforms and online communication. Do you censor the government's lies? No, you don't. You censor upset people. So yes, sometimes I swear on a screen, but it pales in comparison to what has happened to real people in the real world. If you actually read this, kudos to you. Thank you. But I will say to the politicians who work for me and the media who lie to me while surviving on my money, whatever I wish. If this doesn't work for you, YouTube, so be it. But never forget what you, YouTube, helped them do to Canadians. I certainly won't. You helped governments, media, and pharmaceutical companies commit probably the largest human rights crime in the history of planet Earth. Billions of people affected in all kinds of ways. And you censored the hell out of people during the pandemic. And often, we found out later, much of what you censored was truthful information. Hope it was worth it. Chris. So I get a message about cyberbullying while we had Canadians online wishing unvaccinated people fines, jail, segregation, sickness, and death. It was a real conversation in Canada. Do we even help unvaccinated people in hospitals? We had the Prime Minister on television screaming that unvaccinated people put children in danger. The media and the politicians outright organized the public hatred against millions of Canadians. And I get a message about cyberbullying. I'm sorry, folks, but it's fucking ridiculous. So I'm taking this offer of a podcast and I'm going to hammer these people as hard and as far and as long as I can. So the few of you that do watch this and take something from it, or remember me from Twitter, or have positive messages, I appreciate you all and I thank you, but it's time to take another avenue here. So, all the best. Take care. Keep moving forward. Keep your heads up. Team Canada, baby. Thank you, folks. Have a great day.